Good evening. Good evening. Happy Friday, everybody. I hope everyone had a good week. It's football season. I'm super excited about that. I got my Clayton Ridge football shirt on because there's a home game tonight. So hopefully they win. My kids didn't play. My son played football for a year, but he was a runner. But my daughter was a cheerleading coach or a cheerleader for 4 years for football. So love football. But just kind of wait for the chat to catch up. Make sure. Oh, there's my YouTube. Super loud. Let's turn that off. All right. Hope everyone had a great week. I'm coming to you live for the second time this week. And yeah, I saw the Chiefs are getting ready to kick off. I saw that was on there, but my girls are playing too, the Fever. Tom's watching that downstairs, but I saw it come on my screen. I'm like, oh, I probably shouldn't turn on football. I probably should put YouTube on. Hi, Miss Tia. So I have a little bit of a test tonight. I am going live on the Brutus Monroe channel, YouTube channel, Christopher Allen's channel, the Brutus Monroe Facebook group, my YouTube channel, and tonight I am attempting to go live on Instagram. So I only have an hour. Instagram will kick you off if you go over an hour. So we're going to get started. Hi, Kate. We're going to make a Halloween card tonight. Hi, Karen. I do have a bundle, and in my bundle tonight is Scowling embossing. Oops, let's switch to the desk. Scowling embossing powder, the Haunted Hills and Jeepers Creepers, Haunted Hills and Jeepers Creepers dual foil, the Paranormal Photo stencil, and then I have the No Place Like Halloween, hi mama, Halloween stamp, and then the coordinating die. And that is $49.94. So I do have it linked in the description box below. It is an affiliate link, which just means if you place an order using that link, I get a small kickback. And I appreciate it, which helps me bring you more content. Hi, Brandon. I'm glad your experiment worked earlier tonight. All right, we're going to get started right away. So I am going to do a little bit different with my one I'm making because I have a swap out. But I am going to start with one of the dual foil panels. This is from the Jeepers Creepers. You get 4 that are foilable. Yeah, Kate, that's why you would get lots of notifications. And 4 that are not foilable. And I use this one already for my swap out, but we're going to use this one. I just cut it in 4ths. And we're going to go ahead and take our Paranormal Photo A2 stencil. This was part of Fireworks Frenzy, but you can get it in a bundle or separate. I am going to use a little bit of pixie spray on this because there's a couple of spots that are, things are delicate, fussy. I don't know what the proper word is. Hi, Luann. How are you? I like to use pixie spray when I'm using some gel. So I do have a collection, Candy's collection, things that I've also using tonight, but they're not part of the bundle. They are under Candi Live. I don't have that linked. I do. Penny can probably share it if she wants the collection, where you can buy everything separately if you don't want the bundle. And then if you use the code Sugar Cards by Candi, you get a small discount on items that are appropriate, unless you are a subscriber, which is you'd want your subscriber discount. So, okay, I'm going to go ahead and do that. I'm going to mask off the bats and the moon. And I had Post-it notes here because I don't want those. Thank you, Penny. I don't have a good way of right now. Someday I'm going to have 2 computer screens, and then I'll have links where I can click one on one. I mean, 2 computer screens here. I like having 2 screens. I am so used to that at work. Okay, we are going to use the Chroma Glaze Glow in the Dark. I added this at the last second because I wanted to do that instead of ink blending. Now, mine is a little bit older. I'm going to tell you that. And so please use your stuff. I need to use this up. I have found that it's starting to dry a little bit because it's a little bit older. And there is shelf lives. to all glazes and stuff. So use them up, but it will work for tonight. And all I'm going to do is we're going to just kind of, and you'll be able to see because it's starting to dry out a little bit. That I get a little chunk. I have little chunks where there's dry pieces, and that's my fault because I've had this a long time. And what happens is that I end up with more than one, and I forget which one's old, and I try to use up the oldest ones first. So my goal over the next month here is to use up all of this. Yeah, well, I don't need 3, Penny. I only need 2. All right, I gotta grab my baby wipes here because I'm gonna get this. I got this on my fingers. These are very dry baby wipes. Okay, so I just put a little bit down, and then I'm gonna go ahead and use my stencil pal here, and I'm just gonna swipe it over to kind of give it smooth. And I'll show you what I mean by, use your paste, especially these ones that are like chroma glazes, which this is foilable. If you let it dry and you use some of our foil overlays, like those new ones, they like the magical shattered glass, you can get an awesome effect. Now, I don't know what the glow in the dark works with that. I'm going to try that tomorrow. Actually, I hope it would still work, but I don't know. So, all right, I have just a little spot right here that I don't like, so I'm going to do that quick. We're going to just move on. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and just wipe this off. I'm not worried about saving it because, like I said, I need to use up this paste. I've had this for a little while, and I'm going to be using that up. So, all right, let's wipe that off. And I'm going to take off my masks. We're going to move kind of quickly tonight, I hope, because I did not want to use that bat or that moan this time. Let's go. Ready for the reveal? 1, 2, 3. Awesome. Look at that reveal. Now, I'm going to set that down for a minute. I'm going to stick this in my little stencil my stencil bin back here that has water and my stencil cleaner in it, and a bunch of glitter glaze from last weekend because it's been sitting there. And I'm going to go ahead and set this aside to dry. When it is dry, it'll be clear. You can see right now it's kind of white. And I did a pretty good job of not getting the chunks to, like I said, the drying pieces, because as they get inside and that, like I said, then I need to get those out of there because they won't make a smooth finish. But through the magic of television, I have one that's already dry. See the difference? So now this one would be ready for foil. I am not going to foil it tonight because I don't know if we have enough time for that, for us to move on with our cards. Like I said, need to make sure. So this is our basic card base. And I just think it's fun because it's kind of a background and you're going to be able to see it when it glows. And I will take a picture of it tonight. I have all of these, my bright lights here, up here. And then I'll take a picture and put it on my Instagram, which is Sugar Cards by Candi, or in the Brutus Monroe fan club group. You'll be able to see what it looks like when it glows. I always go in a completely dark room because that's the best, when I can get the best photo. All right. So what we're going to do is we're going to move on with our stamping. And this one's kind of going to be a fairly easy card. I think it was, or, basic card, as in there's not going to be a lot of stuff going on. I thought we might do 2 so I could use both dual foils. So I'm going to go ahead and grab, this is that No Place Like Halloween stamp set. Now the base set is available. It has like a porch set, and then like this would go on the doorway and you could decorate the door. But I think this is a great set because you can do a lot of other things with it. We're going to use the spider tonight. And I think we're going to use this spider web, which this spider is huge for this spider web. So if you just got the corner cobweb die, this spider would be perfect on there. But I am going to use the spider web tonight. And then I'm going to use this. And I die cut this out already so I can do my little stamping method. And I mean, this stamp reminds me of Aragog from Harry Potter because I'm a huge Harry Potter fan. So let's get that done first. And what I'm going to do is take one of my little pieces. You can use any kind of scratch paper. I just use these little Misty pieces that come with it. When I got my Misty, I saved them for this purposes. And I'm going to this is how I use our SVGs. If you've never seen us, I do have an SVG play or video that shows you how I use SVGs to stamp, which is the same way. I'm going to grab one more magnet, excuse my reach here. And then what I do is you can do the same thing with stamps and dies, especially with something that's this intricate. Like this is the die. Hi, Amanda. It's okay. Nope, you don't have to get excited about spooky stuff. I am a bigger fan of cutesy and fun, but I do like to make some spooky Halloween cards, as in not scary, but just kind of, I like the spiders and the bats. I think those are fun, and like the colors, like you can do the black and the kind of misty looking thing, but I don't do spooky. Like I don't do scary movies. That's not my thing. So totally okay. So then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my stamp or my die cut that I already die cut out, and it's so straight. So that is why I'm going to use this, and I'm going to actually tape it down. One of the reasons I wanted to do this tonight, this one in particular tonight, is because this one stamp set I'm going to use on my second card just came in, and I just was really excited to do something a little different. I'm in the mood for fall, and I like I said, Halloween, pumpkins, leaves. I don't mind, like I said, spiders, that kind of thing. The fun part of it, that's the fun part for me. And the one stamp set the stamp set I'm talking about is we're going to use the Spooky Friends tonight on our second card. And this is in the collection, and then the dies as well. I don't know if I think I put the dies in the collection. I don't remember. I thought they were still in stock. I just don't know if there was a picture. But once I did that, what I do is I just pop my little die cut straight in there like this, and then I can stamp to my heart's content. And we are going to do black with this one. We're going to do Scalene directly onto our card base. And then my ink pad is a little dry because I use it a lot. So, like Amanda, my favorite Halloween movies are like Twitches and Hocus Pocus and Halloween Town. That's what I go for when I watch Halloween movies. I'm not too big into anything else. That's my daughter. She's into the Halloween stuff. But I do like pumpkins, stuff like that. And then pop it out and look at how perfectly, isn't that perfect? I mean, it's perfect to me anyway, I should say. So we're going to do 3 of them just because I like numbers of 3. I don't know if we're going to use them all, but I just wanted to quickly show them. Our second card will be fairly quick because I already have the images stamped, die cut out and colored, because who wants to sit and watch me color? Maybe somebody, but not tonight. And I wanted to do a little bit nice. I want to do a little blending on my coloring. So, all right. Let's see. One more here, and then we're going to go through and so my mama is not a big Halloween fan, right, Mama? We were able to go trick-or-treating. She didn't necessarily, like, she had a little bit in case somebody stopped by, but we lived and we didn't really have any neighbors. So, oh yeah, no, that's, I can understand that. I mean, I'm sure there's parts. Oh yeah, no. I'm chicken. I don't like what, I mean, I watch things. The scariest thing I can watch is I'd watch is like The Walking Dead. Now, I'm not saying I've never seen a scary movie, and every once in a while they're on TV. I don't mind when they're on TV because I can close my eyes and not watch that part, or they usually cut the really bad parts out. But The Walking Dead is about as bad as I can get. And I don't even watch when that happens. I always have to close my eyes when somebody gets hurt or something kind of gory like that, because it's just like, no, I don't want to see it. I don't want people to get hurt. So, But I do think it's fun to make Halloween cards. Like trick-or-treating, and I don't know. My daughter's birthday's in October, so that makes me fun with it too. Yep, my mom's not a big Halloween fan. So we did a little trick-or-treating, but mostly to the neighbors when we were little and my grandparents. And that's okay. All right, this is the spider web. And there are little spider webs down here in the corner, but we're going to add a little bit more. So I'm just going to do it up here. I'm going to put it in a little ways because I am going to cut this down. So I don't want to cut off too much of that. And we're going to go ahead and we're just going to stamp this down with some Raven Detail ink. I love how the background of these dual foil sheets are already blended for us. So it may not stick over like very well over that chroma glaze, but I'm okay with that. That's like the spider, and we're going to cover some of this up anyway. So we've got this, and then I'm going to do it in the other corner as well. And even though this little spider is hanging down, we're going to cover that up. No, so I had a really kind of bad experience as a child. The house that was next door to us, which when I was older, there really wasn't anyone there. There had been like a small fire, and then I don't remember who owned the house, but they watched one of those really bad, I don't want to say one of the movies, but I don't know if it was the nightmare ones. And I had really bad nightmares afterwards. And then when I was another smaller child, not super small, but because my little sister was riding on my cousin's shoulder, on my uncle or my cousin's shoulder, my uncle's shoulders. I went into the State Fair haunted house at the Minnesota State Fair, and I was terrified. I was screaming, and I wanted to get out, and they wouldn't let me. And I was so upset about that. It's just not for me. So now there is this bat in here, but I'm going to use the bats from this. This is one of the things I love about this set. These bats are amazing. I just think they're fun. I love them. They're like Dracula bats from like cartoons. And so I'm going to use some of those. And there are coordinating dies, but we're not going to cut them out tonight. We're just going to use them. And what we're going to do, we're going to put a few of them on here. Like I said, we're going to have, I'm going to put, see here, I'm going to put the spiders. I'm going to put the spider in the spider web. And probably one down here. I don't know if we're going to use, we might just use 2. We might use 3. I haven't decided yet. But we're going to put a few of these bats. And this is where I'm going to put in my Scowleen. And for those of you who don't know who Scowleen is, she is this, I don't even know if that's actually the witch. But she is from, Penny can remind me the name of the show, but it was one of Christopher's favorite show, and she was the witch on it. And we have a Scowleen at the store, and it terrifies Heather. And she's awesome. So Puffin Stuff. Thank you. If you Google Puffin Stuff. My granddaughter was with me last October. I woke her up. Oh yeah, no. My daughter likes the scarier, the better. I mean, she loves them. I just, they're not for me. So not for me. They're all her. I'm okay with that. She can have them. I don't mind suspense, but I'm even sometimes suspense. I'm more of a, like I said, fun, happy kind of Halloween girl. All right. I just used some anti-static powder tool, and we're going to use a little embossing ink. Push these down. I love the Scowleen embossing powder. My embossing ink's a little dry too, so we're going to do this a couple times. Just because I need to re-ink these. I re-inked my black a little bit, but I didn't go super deep with it. So it needs to be re-inked. So tomorrow that will be one of my lists up besides cleaning the mess on my desk here. Okay. I'm going to take this out, and I'm going to be very careful to not get too much of the embossing powder on my little, because this is a little kind of sticky. I mean, it's not, it's dry, but you know, embossing powder likes to stick to things you don't want it to sometimes. So we're just going to use a little bit of this. I should get one of those little spoon thingies and I could just spoon it on. But if I'm careful, look at how pretty this is. Oh, moon dreamers. Yes. Yes, yes, yes. Moon dreamers. And that would make more sense because the glow in the dark embossing powder, one of them is called moon dreamers. I was using that last night on some stuff. So you can see where I have some stickiness from like when I use the pixie spray, because if you over pixie spray, which I do, your embossing powder will stick to it. So even though that's pretty dry, I'm just going to use a dry brush and brush that off a little bit. I'm okay if it's not perfect because it is a Halloween card. And that is one thing I can tell you that is fun about Halloween cards. It doesn't matter if you make a mistake or if you have some embossing powder that goes wonky, because you can just add splatter and grunge it up because it's a Halloween card. So that's one, you know, my daughter liking Halloween, I can make, oh yeah, it's black with green and purple sparkles in it. I have a pumpkin that I've been working on for over a year, a wooden pumpkin, and I haven't finished it yet, but it's completely covered in the scoulin. All right. Oh, we forgot to plug this in. Hopefully I've turned on my outlet. Yep. Okay. I'm going to heat this up. So scoulin, I like scoulin's like the only black embossing powder I really, really like, because embossing powder hates me, blackened powder. It's great. It just hates me. All right. So there, we just did that little bit and it's good. I mean, you can kind of see it, but you'll see it in person more. There's just a little bits of green and black. There's just very subtle with this small, but I just think it's fun. Okay, let's cut this down. And then we're going to get ready. I mean, we're going to get ready to, I'm going to mat it on some some Raven cardstock because, you know, Halloween, got to have black. You could do purple. I mean, you think you could do purple here, but I'm going to do black just because. And let's see, that's almost a 4. So we're going to cut it down just a hair more because, and then let's see, what is this at? 5 1/4. That's perfect. All right. Because like I said, I love this in the background, but it's just back there and you know it's there, but yet it's not the focal point. So, because we're going to put a little sentiment on here too. All right. I love the Raven cardstock. It's one of my favorite blacks. It works so well. Okay, let's go to 4 1/4. And then we're going to kind of zhuzh it up with we could have done the spiders in scoulin. That would have been fun too, but I did want to kind of just do the bats. I mean, it's just a hint of black in this one. All right, let's put some tape runner on here. We also could do a little bit of ink blending around the edges to give it a little bit more spooky feel, which we might still do even though it's on the Raven, just because we can. I've already put the tape runner on it. Let's just eyeball this. Sometimes with the black mat, it's harder to see the Raven edges. So like I said, there's a lot of, let's darken it up just a classy black. It is a classy black. You're right. Let's put a little bit of extra black on here. And I'm going to grab the new Black Widow Stellar ink. It's very juicy, so we don't need a ton of it. Let's see if I got, do I have a black? Yes, I do. And then get the mouse out of the way here. So I'm just going to rub it a little bit on the edges. I don't really need to push in because these ink pads, if you haven't seen them, they're very juicy. They're the foam ones versus the black. And then we're just going to add a little blackness to the edge. And it's going to be fine on the Raven. You're not going to see it on the Raven so much. And just kind of ink up the edges here a little bit. And it will wipe right off of that chroma glaze because it's like an emboss resist kind of thing, just like embossing powder. So we'll just ink up the edges a little bit, just kind of spookify this a little bit. Make it a little bit more Halloween nightish. We don't have a Halloween moon in our video or in our card tonight. I'm okay with that. All right. So then we're going to do that. And that's kind of, and then I'm just going to go ahead and just kind of wipe off the edges of my chroma glaze. I'm going to wet it just a hair with some squeaky clean. Not a lot, but it just wipes that right off. But it's okay that it's not perfect because it kind of gives it that eerie look. So there is that part. All right, we got our little spiders here and we got to do a sentiment. So I think we're going to pop up our spiders. So I have a little bit of foam tape here and I have a couple of randomits left. And we're going to throw on a sentiment, and it's kind of, like I said, a very fairly easy card. The biggest thing we have to do is wait for that. Would have to do is wait for that chroma glaze to dry. And that's where, like I said, tomorrow, when my other one is dry, since I thought about it at the last minute, I wasn't able to test it tonight, but I'm pretty sure that it would still glow even with the overlay, like the new overlays over it. So I'm going to test that tomorrow. So I'll let you guys know. Okay. So like I said, I think we're going to do 3, but we need to do, I don't know. I am going to do 3 spiders just because like I said, these remind me of like Aragog from Harry Potter. And we're just going to kind of pop them on. And this guy's going to I'm going to hang him down over that. And then because I did this one, I'm going to go. Do you see how I did it sideways and that's my spider? Not that spiders can't like float, but it looks a little weird. We're going to just cover that up with my floating spider here. Another thing you could do is use the like the Moon Dreamer and stamp these on the Raven cardstock and die cut them out, and then your spiders would glow. And we're gonna go ahead and put this guy down right here, just because got like, see how that dimension kind of pops up, and we got, like I said, a very basic card. Now we're going to, because I've got that white on there, we're gonna do our sentiment on white because then it ties in a little bit more. And I'm just gonna see if I have a little sentiment strip here. Oh, let's use a piece. Got some alabaster here somewhere. Got just a little scrap of alabaster. And then from this No Place Like Home set, there is Halloween greetings, spooky Halloween, have a haunted Halloween. Halloween is a time for treats. I'm going to do Halloween or spooky Halloween. So we're just going to grab the Halloween and the spooky. Oops. My guys are kind of, sometimes every once in a while there we go. I just had to cut those apart a little bit. I haven't used this set that often, obviously. There we go. Oh, and then there's Happy too. Happy up there. A Happy Halloween. But I think it's fun because you've got like a ghost. Oops, you can't see that. There's a little ghost on a little cord. So, we could have done that and kind of had that hanging down, or the silly comical spider, a more cartoony spider, but all right. So we're just going to stick this in here. I'm not going to use the Scowleen because I don't think you're going to see it. And we're going to stamp them out separately. So I'm going to stamp out the Halloween. I'm just going to use the Stellar ink here. I don't think you would see the Scowleen because it's such a thin greeting. Otherwise, I would, if it was a chunkier sentiment, I would use that Scowleen to tie in with the Scowleen of my Oh, that's greetings. That's not the right one. We need spooky. That's the embossing powder. Sorry, I lost my train of thought there for a second. Now, just going to put it right next to it instead of on top. Just going to eyeball it. Like I said, actually, it would be fun. You could kind of put it at an angle too. And then I'm just going to grab my this is from Tailored Expressions stamp pocket. I think I got it when I was at Taylor's Expression once. I think Christopher came too, and I bought it then. But you could just do some stamp packaging, and I'm just gonna. Oh, it's perfect, and it just means I can stamp this down and see if it's lined up. So I have it, so I'm gonna use it. All righty, so let's grab this, and this is the so tiny little stamp, so we're not even gonna. We're barely. Okay. Oh, my magnets are stuck together. So we're just going to touch it ever so, kiss that paper ever so gently. And that is awesome. Look at how look at how cool. Spooky Halloween. Like I said, you could put it up on top. But I'm just going to do it with one long sentiment strip. And I'm just going to use the edge of my trimmer. I'll make sure I'm on camera here. And I always line up my wording with the end of my plastic piece and just trim. And I flip it around and do the same thing because that's one way I know. And I just kind of eyeball it. And then I know my sentiment strip is looking pretty good. Now let's see what this looks like on my card. Is this too long? I think I'm going to trim it down a little bit. We're going to trim it down. I just thought that's a little bit too much white. We're going to trim it down just a little bit. And then, hi, Pam. How are you? Thanks for popping in. I'm kind of finishing up one I cannot go over tonight because I am experimenting with Instagram Live. So that's okay. You know what? I had dinner a little early tonight. I kind of have to rush home and eat dinner right away because I get home at 5. And if by the time I eat dinner, if I want to prep anything, I don't have a ton of time. So we try to eat right at 5 on my Friday nights. I'm just going to use my little T rule here. Let's see if I did this. I am not right with straight lines. Excuse my head. We're just going to put that over I'm okay with it going over that a little bit. Okay. Yes, you will make it for the second card. So there is our first card. I'm going to let this sit and dry for just a minute. And then we'll flop this over. And I am going to cut off that leg of that spider because it just adds a little bit of something. And then there's one up here. We'll cut his tip of his foot off because that just makes your card look like it's flowing off. And then I do have some card bases here. Oh, yeah. Well, 5 is pretty because, I literally usually get home at 5. And so Tom and I are kind of rushing between 5 and 6 to eat on Fridays, but it's fine. It's fine. I usually try to prep ahead of time if I can. And when I get home from work, first thing I do is get my computer I get everything all set up while we're having dinner cooking. And then I can come up and just kind of finish. So there we go. So here's our first card. Like I said, I will get it glowing and I will take a picture and show it. But it's kind of a fun little Halloween card, kind of simple, but yet, it took 34 minutes, of course, plus the dry time for my glow in the dark chroma glaze. So I'm going to put that aside and we're going to start on our second card, which won't take super long. This one, we're going to use the Haunted Hills dual foil, and I'm not using the foiling again. I'm going to use one of these. And I think these are just kind of fun. Just because I just don't feel like foiling tonight. I'm going to go ahead and what I do is I just put it in my trimmer and I line it up. I'm not too concerned about getting it perfect, like doing the 5.5. I line it up with the line, but I like to have a little edge on my card. So I usually do, 5.25. So, but I'm going to cut it down first. Actually, I think I want to use this one. Thank you. Oh yeah, I am a big fan of the glow in the dark chroma glaze. I love it. And like I said, I will get it glowing and then I run in and I hide in a very dark room. Like I go in the closet, I go in the cellar, I go in the bathroom, shut the doors. My upstairs bathroom has no windows. I am going to cut off a bunch of this we'll cut off just some of this at the bottom. So we have some of that cemetery. Because I feel like when I want to take a photo, that's the best way you guys can see it. I'm just going to trim a hair off this side because we want the spooky moon on this side. And the funny thing is that the moon dreamer embossing powder, I think I missed during the live when they were talking about it on a live or on Christopher's video that it glowed in the dark. And I know we have a glow in the dark embossing powder. It's called glow in the dark. And like I said, Moon Dreamer and Scowleen, because Scowleen is from Moon Dreamers. I didn't realize this glowed in the dark. And one night I walked through my craft room and it was sitting on my desk. And I'm like, oh my gosh, it glows in the dark. I didn't know that. So, all right, we're going to spookify this one a little bit too. Because once again, we're going to put it on our black cardstock. This one's going to be a little bit more cutesy. Because we got our cute little stamps for it. We're going to ink it up a little because we got to, spookify the night. And we're going to get a little bit darker. Now, you could use your Distress Oxide black soot. My Distress Oxides are across the room. So, not going to necessarily do that one tonight because I don't want to get up. And I really do like Simon Hurley's inks. We're just going to kind of spookify the edges here a little bit. It will dry back, but it does add a little bit, it covers up a little bit of the pattern. And of course, I need to go lighter over here because that's where the moon is, but we needed a little bit. And then I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a little bit. I'm just going to spritz a little water on it and let it sit for a minute. I just kind of went with my water. I mean, literally, I just went in the air. I just went like that. And I let it go on because Simon Hurley's inks are water reactive and let it sit just a minute. I'm going to grab my white cloth. It's not going to do a ton because there's not a really deep, but it's just doing a little bit to lighten up. And then what I think I'm going to do is use where's my little finger dauber? I had it sitting here. Yes, right here. I'm going to grab my finger dauber. We're going to grab some anti-static powder tool. I'm going to anti-static powder tool that a lot right there. My little finger dauber. Get that right in our embossing ink here, good. And I'm going to pounce it on my moon. And I'm okay if it goes over a little bit because there'd be a little bit of a glow, right? And we will add some of that Moon Dreamer on there so you guys can see that glow too. All right, let's grab a piece of paper. And we're going to grab the Moon Dreamer embossing powder. Look at how pretty that is. Doesn't it kind of look like it's on the moon? And it may stick to where I don't want it because the Simon Hurley inks, but because I'm okay with it glowing out, so like I said, this is a Halloween card. It doesn't have to be perfect. And it's the moon. If you don't tell someone that it glows in the dark and they get a glow in the dark card and they have it sitting upright, they're all like, oh, what do you mean it glows in the dark? Or they just see it glow later, which is kind of fun. Like if you give them a card and they don't know right away, it's kind of fun. Okay, I'm just going to heat set this. I think one big difference between the Moon Dreamer And the regular emboss, the glow in the dark is, I think there's a little bit of glitter in the Moon Dreamer. So that's what that's going to look like. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and put this right on our card base already because I know, like I said, I have everything stamped and ready to go for my images. And we're going to do some more bats, of course. So let's get this on. But that doesn't, it can be on our card base. I'm just trying to make sure we don't, like I said, we don't go on, we landed about the right time. All right. And now that this is cooled off, because you can't brush this off when it's hot because you can ruin it. I got to brush off that anti-static powder tool. All right. Now let's grab our panel here. We're going to add some bats because, you know, bats and Halloween. Actually, it's funny. There's a nice little witch in this one too, so we can probably add her too. Let's grab this. I'll grab that witch out of here. So the bats are from the Spooky Friends, and that's, I'll show that in just a minute again. In case, you know, like I said, we're gonna kind of put them down here a little bit. We're just gonna have our little buddies here, kind of in a little triangle. And then there is a witch, and we're gonna add her too. Let's add her too. Add a little spookiness. She's gonna be up over here. Actually, yeah, let's move this. Yep, let's do it just a little bit. Got little stars up there too. I'm okay. The stars are gonna be a different color. Now I could mask the stars off, but I'm not gonna, because I don't want to. Let's move this bat over here. And maybe we'll put this guy over here a little bit. Okay. All right. So anti-static powder tool again, and it looks like I didn't get my black on her right, so I'm gonna have to fix that. Okay, a little more anti-static powder tool. This card's gonna come together fairly quickly. Embossing ink. I'm just gonna stamp this down a couple times because, like I said, my embossing ink is a little dry. I don't care if I get my stars perfect. I might even brush them off once I cover them with the embossing powder, just because. And then I'm going to grab our Scowling again. Like I said, I love Scowling for Halloween. Oh, look at how beautiful those little bats are. We're going to throw it on our witch here. Now, we can leave our stars, but I'm just going to brush them off because I don't think they quite work for me. So I'm just going to brush the Scowling off of them. And then, you know what? You can kind of see it there, but I don't think it's super important. Okay. I have found that for Halloween cards, if I make a mistake with my embossing powder, I can sprinkle a little extra black embossing powder on or splatter a little bit, and it kind of makes it stars or splatter or something. Okay, so heat up our heat tool. I'm going to dry our bats up here quick. I love how it's kind of like right over the moon too. Okay, so let's fix this that I didn't get down and straight. And all I'm going to do is match it up. Like again, I'm going to match up the bottom of my panel, and then I can just trim it. And that will make it straight. And it will look straight because it'll match my cardstock here. So I'm going to do that very quickly. That is a little trick I have found because I, like I said, am horrible sometimes at straight lines. There, that works. All right. Now I have, like I said, the Spooky Friends. Here's the Spooky Friends. This is from last year and it's been restocked. Kind of hard to see because I've got the images off. But through the magic of television, I've got two of our little friends already colored. Now, I don't know if we're going to use them both. I'm thinking I want to do this guy. I don't know. What do you guys think? Jack-o'-lantern or candy corn? Maybe the jack-o'-lantern, because this guy's like tricking or treating. And it's cemetery either. So we're going to do, this is the Great Pumpkin. How does that sound? We'll use this guy. And yeah, he's really cutesy compared to, you know, the background, but that's what makes it kind of fun is because he's got a spooky background. But, you know, we got this cutesy stamp. And there are lots of fun kind of cutesy. I mean, I've seen a few cutesy stamp sets out there and dies out there. So that if you are like, well, I don't really want to do Halloween like scary or spooky, you can do a fun Halloween card and then just be like, have a sweet jack-o'-lantern. Kate said jack-o'-lantern too. Okay, good. I chose right. I've never used that. I think I made a card with this guy the last year. And then I think it sold out before I really got a chance to use it. So I didn't use it again. And if you guys know Sandy on the design team, she's a friend of mine. And last year I had just gotten the box and we were at a crafty retreat together. And so she used it. Thank you. The jack-o'-lantern is cute. He is cute. All right. So we're just going to put a little foam tape on the guy. We're going to stick him up. And sorry, trying to get the tape off of it. So she used it and I was like, absolutely. And I just didn't get a chance to use it. I just time got away from me last year. And we're going to make him straight, right and center. Front and center. And I actually even added a little bit of white gel pen, which I almost never do because I always forget. I get nervous about doing white gel pen because I don't know if I do too much or not enough. All right, let's get this guy in a card base and then we need a sentiment. And it looks like we're going to end just about on time. I don't think I'm going to do any embellishments tonight. Maybe we'll do some black gems because they can be like black stars. Oh, is this a little smaller? It is a little smaller than my card base. So what we're going to do is we're going to put it up to the corner and the top. So we're going to line it up as best we can and then we'll trim it. Because I ended up being a little bit smaller. Yes, the jack-o'-lantern balances that. And then we're just going to trim it because it's not quite a full A2 card base, but it's not quite enough to center. So we're just going to trim it off and nobody has to know that my card base, it will still fit in my A2 card. There. Get rid of that whiteness there. And now we need a little fun sentiment. So there is this big happy Halloween. But I think that takes up too much. So we're going to go back to our little sentiment here. This for the Halloween No Place Like Home set. And I'm going to, let me see if I got the white. Where's the white? I was looking for the backer so that you could see. Here it is. And I'm going to use the Halloween again. But I think we're going to do just Happy Halloween. Because he's happy. It's kind of, I mean, you could do have a haunted Halloween, but I'm going to do Happy Halloween. Oops. Just because. He looks fun and he looks happy. And I think that's what we want to do. Let's grab the happy out of there. And we're going to do the same thing. We're going to do this on some white cardstock as well, because then it ties in with the white edges of my stamp. And once again, we will do the Halloween first, but this time I think I might put the happy right above it. Okay. I'm going to move it up just a little bit so I can trim it in case I don't get it straight. And we will grab our Raven ink. Here we go. I've done that, Kate, many, many times. All right, and then we're going to do the happy, and I'm going to do the happy right kind of, and I think for some fun, I'm going to do it at a little bit of an angle. Okay, if it will leave my finger alone. Here's my point of my scissors, a little bit of an angle, just because. And I'm going to grab my orange ink. We're going to grab the traffic cone ink and just do a little bit of the happy with that to make it fun. Oops, my happy's over. I tend to leave my stamps in my MISTI until I'm done with Alive, or I put them on a little ink blot and then I clean them all afterwards. All right, just a little bit more on that H, just gentle. There we go. We got Happy Halloween. And that is our sentiment. Let's cut that down. So if you are interested in checking out the bundle, like I said, you get the Scowling embossing powder, the No Place Like Home Halloween stamp and die, and both the Jeepers Creepers and the Haunted Hill dual foils, plus the Paranormal Photo stencil. I'm going to trim this all the way down. I do appreciate you guys joining me tonight. I hope you guys have a great weekend as we finish this up here. And I think I'm just going to stick him down, and we're just going to stick him right in here and balance that off a little bit because I think that fits really well there. Let's use some glue. And if you have not checked out the craft glue from Brutus Monroe, it's you have a little bit extra wiggle room from even, I mean, I still love my Barely Arts, but when I want a little extra wiggle room, this one gives me even more wiggle room because it doesn't dry quite as fast. It's just like for sentiments or die cuts in particular. Like I love stacking die cuts, but I tend to find my, I do have a lot of time where it sets before I can get it put together too quickly. Okay, so then I think we're going to add just a little bit of gems because we need them. I'm going to grab the hematite. No, we're not. We're going to grab the violet shift because I like that they're purpley blue. And we'll add a few of these to both of our cards tonight. Just because we got to have a little bit extra bling. It's a little fun. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a couple right here because we have this open space. And then I'll put one here. And then I'm going to put a couple. I might put one. I'm going to put one in the middle. I'm going to grab the red shift and put the red shift ones right in the middle of my spiders to give them like a Black Widow kind of feel to them. So let's grab those. So I hope, thank you. I do, like I said, I'm glad you guys joined me. Whether you're Halloween or not, sometimes just even if you're not learning by watching other things, you can get other ideas. Or sometimes, to be honest with you, you might find you have somebody who, like my daughter, who is an absolute Halloween craziness, or Christopher Allen, who loves Halloween, and you can make them a card with some of the things that you can get. And have them, but having these spiders is very fun to have for creepy cards or things like that. All right, let's add a few gems here. I think I'm gonna put a couple here. I'll put one there. I don't think about it too much. I'm gonna put my magnet on the end of this so it dries a little bit, and then maybe I'll put a couple down here. 5, that's 5. That looks pretty good to me. I always feel embellishments, like when I scrapbook, embellishments are one of the last things I do. When I go to crafts, I don't always worry about bringing my embellishments with because I figure I can always add the embellishments later, or I can go to the store and specifically buy like specific elements for them, make them with my Cricut, things like that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think we're going to add a couple more. I'm going to add a couple. 6, 7, 8. I want to add a couple more. I just do. I don't know. I feel like I need to add a couple more gems. I think, what does Christopher say? When you think you have enough glitter, add 2 more shakes. And I'm doing them kind of wonky here because, like I said, straight lines, don't work. I don't know. I may regret that later, but I'm doing it. Sometimes it's a little too much, but I think it's homemade. It's perfect. All right, you guys, that is our cards for tonight. I'm going to sign off here in just a minute. I hope you guys had a great evening, maybe learned something, or you just had an enjoyable time. Have a great rest of your weekend. And like I said, I will get pictures put up with the glow in the dark. I don't know if I'll get them up tonight, but I will definitely get them up tomorrow. It just depends on how soon I can get them edited. So have a great evening, and I will see you all next Friday with something else and more to play with. All right. Have a good night. Have a good night, all. Bye.